The doors of Providence Municipal Court opened at 2:30 p.m., and 37-year-old Vanessa Montgomery made an entrance. Her tailored Chanel suit, easily $6,000, fit perfectly, and her Christian Louboutin heels clicked authoritatively on the marble floor. Diamond earrings that probably cost more than most people's cars caught the afternoon light. Her hair was styled in an elegant natural updo, and she carried a Hermes Birkin bag worth at least $12,000. Behind her walked two attorneys in expensive suits and a young assistant carrying an iPad and a thick folder. Vanessa didn't approach the bench. She stood in the center of the courtroom, checking her Apple Watch, the luxury edition, $17,000, and speaking into her AirPods about a charity gala. The bailiff had to interrupt her twice before she ended the call. Before we dive into what happened in that courtroom, if you believe in justice and want to support a new channel dedicated to sharing these powerful stories, please hit that subscribe button and like this video. Every subscription helps us bring more of Judge Caprio's wisdom to light. The bailiff called the case The People versus Vanessa Christine Montgomery, case number 2024 TRF 14567. Charges: reckless driving, illegal cell phone use while driving, running a red light, and failure to yield. Total fines, $2,850. Vanessa's lead attorney, a polished woman named Rachel Chen from a top Providence firm, stepped forward immediately. Your Honor, Mrs. Montgomery is co-founder of the Montgomery Foundation, which has donated over $15 million to Providence charities. She's extremely busy with philanthropic work, and we'd appreciate expediting these proceedings. Judge Frank Caprio looked up from his paperwork, his 37 years of experience instantly recognizing the setup. This wasn't just about traffic violations. This was about someone who believed their charitable work made them untouchable. Mrs. Montgomery, please approach the bench. Vanessa walked forward with the confidence of someone used to being the most important person in any room. Your Honor, I appreciate your time. I know we're all busy people. I have a board meeting in an hour for the Children's Hospital wing my foundation is funding, so if we could handle this quickly, I'd be grateful. Mrs. Montgomery, I'm looking at Officer Davis's report from October 23rd at 3:15 p.m. It says you were driving 65 miles per hour in a 35-mile-per-hour zone on Hope Street. You were using your cell phone. You ran a red light at the intersection with Angel Street, and you failed to yield to a pedestrian in a crosswalk. Is this accurate? Vanessa sighed, as if the question was tedious. Your Honor, I was on an important call with the mayor's office about our foundation's $2 million grant to renovate 3 community centers. Yes, I may have been going a bit fast, and yes, I was on my phone, but I was literally in the middle of finalizing a deal that will benefit thousands of Providence residents. I think context matters here. Let me understand something. You were driving 65 in a 35 while on your phone? It was hands-free, Your Honor. Mostly. Look, I'm not some reckless driver. I'm a responsible member of this community. My husband and I have given more to this city than most people will earn in their lifetimes. I was multitasking because I have genuine responsibilities. Not just to myself, but to the people my foundation serves. Judge Caprio leaned forward. And the pedestrian you failed to yield to? Vanessa waved her hand dismissively. They weren't even close to my car. They were still on the curb. I had plenty of room to go through. People in this city need to learn to wait their turn instead of expecting everyone to stop for them every time they stand near a crosswalk. The courtroom went silent. Even her attorneys looked uncomfortable. Mrs. Montgomery, the law requires drivers to yield to pedestrians in crosswalks. I understand the law, Your Honor. I also understand that this city needs people like me. People who actually give back, who invest in communities, who make a difference. So maybe we should consider priorities here. Is it more important to nitpick about whether I went a few miles over the speed limit? Or is it more important that I get back to work helping people? Judge Caprio removed his glasses slowly. You believe your charitable work exempts you from traffic laws? I believe my charitable work should be considered as part of the whole picture. I'm not some kid joyriding or some drunk driver. I'm a pillar of this community. Ask anyone. The Montgomery Foundation is in every major publication. We won the Governor's Service Award last year. My husband and I were on the cover of Providence Monthly as Philanthropists of the Year. That's very commendable. But I'm still trying to understand why you were driving 65 in a 35 while on your phone. Vanessa's tone sharpened. Because I was closing a deal that will bring $2 million into this city. That phone call was with Deputy Mayor Harrison about grant approval. Every minute mattered. I made a calculated decision that my call was more important than sitting in traffic going the speed limit. What happened next would shock the entire courtroom. Judge Caprio picked up a tablet. Mrs. Montgomery, Officer Davis's report includes dash cam footage and witness statements. I'd like the court to see what your calculated decision looked like. Bailiff, please play Exhibit A. Vanessa's confidence flickered. Is that really necessary? I've admitted I was going fast. Play the video. The courtroom monitor lit up with dashcam footage. The timestamp showed October 23rd, 3:14 p.m. The video showed a white Range Rover, a $95,000 vehicle, with the license plate reading, "Give Back," speeding down Hope Street. The car was clearly going much faster than surrounding traffic. Then came the crosswalk incident. An elderly man with a cane had stepped off the curb into the marked crosswalk. The walk signal was clearly visible. He had the right of way. But Vanessa's Range Rover didn't slow down. The man had to jump back onto the curb, nearly falling. You could see his cane clatter to the ground. The car continued through, and seconds later, blew through a red light at the next intersection. A car in cross traffic had to brake hard, horn blaring. But the most damning part came next. Officer Davis's body camera footage showed the traffic stop. He approached the Range Rover, and through the open window, you could see Vanessa holding her phone, still talking. Ma'am, I need you to end that call and provide your license and registration. Hold on 1 second, Deputy Mayor Harrison. Yes, I'm being pulled over right now. This is exactly the kind of bureaucratic waste we talked about. Yes, I'll call you back. She finally looked at Officer Davis. Officer, I'm in the middle of very important city business. Can we make this quick? Ma'am, I clocked you at 65 in a 35. You were using your cell phone while driving. You ran a red light and you nearly hit a pedestrian in a crosswalk. The pedestrian was fine. I had control of my vehicle, and I was on a call about a $2 million grant. I think that takes priority over a traffic stop, don't you? Ma'am, license and registration, please. Vanessa pulled out her license with obvious irritation. Do you know who I am? I'm Vanessa Montgomery. My foundation donated $500,000 to the Police Benevolent Fund last year. We paid for your new training facility. Officer Davis remained professional. I'm aware of your foundation's work, ma'am. That doesn't change the violations I witnessed. Really? Because I'm pretty sure when someone contributes $500,000 to the police department, they deserve a little consideration. Do you know who pays your salary, officer? The body camera captured Officer Davis's measured response. The taxpayers of Providence pay my salary, ma'am. And those same taxpayers expect me to enforce traffic laws equally, regardless of who someone is or how much money they donate. That's a very naive view of how the world works. I think you'll find that when the police chief hears about this, he's going to have some questions about your judgment. But fine, write your ticket. Just know that the Montgomery Foundation is currently considering a $1 million grant to expand police community programs. I'll be sure to mention this interaction when that decision comes up for review. The video ended. The courtroom was completely silent. Vanessa stood frozen, her face a mixture of embarrassment and anger. Her attorneys were whispering urgently to each other. Judge Caprio set down the tablet. Mrs. Montgomery, did you threaten to withhold charitable donations because a police officer was doing his job? I didn't threaten anything. I simply stated facts. Our foundation makes funding decisions based on many factors, including how we're treated by city departments. You told Officer Davis that you'd mentioned this interaction when reviewing a $1 million grant. That sounds like a threat to me. Vanessa straightened her shoulders. Your Honor, I'm going to be very direct with you. The Montgomery Foundation has given $15 million to this city over the past decade. We fund schools, hospitals, community centers, youth programs. We employ people. We make a difference. So yes, when a police officer treats me like some common criminal over minor traffic violations, I think it's fair to question whether our money is being well spent. If Judge Caprio's compassion moves you, like it moves millions of others, show your support by subscribing to our channel. We're just starting out, and your subscription means everything. Judge Caprio leaned back in his chair. Let me make sure I understand. You drove recklessly, nearly hit a pedestrian, ran a red light, and when a police officer stopped you, you invoked your charitable donations and threatened to withhold future funding. Is that accurate? I didn't threaten. I stated reality. People like me keep this city running. Without philanthropists like the Montgomery family, Providence would be in much worse shape. So maybe this court should consider the bigger picture before treating me like I'm some kind of criminal. Mrs. Montgomery, you mentioned you were finalizing a $2 million grant with Deputy Mayor Harrison. What was that grant for? Vanessa's expression brightened, sensing an opportunity. It's to renovate 3 community centers in underserved neighborhoods. New equipment, updated facilities, expanded programs. It's transformational funding that will impact thousands of families. That sounds like important work. Who benefits from this grant? The communities, obviously. These are neighborhoods that have been neglected. Our foundation is stepping in where the city has failed. We're making a real difference in people's lives. Judge Caprio nodded slowly. And in the process of doing this important work, you drove recklessly through one of those very neighborhoods. Hope Street runs through Smith Hill, doesn't it? One of the neighborhoods your foundation claims to serve? Vanessa hesitated. Well, yes, but the elderly man you nearly hit in the crosswalk, his name is Robert Williams. He's 74 years old. He lives in the Smith Hill neighborhood. He walks to the senior center every day for lunch because he can't afford a car. He uses a cane because he has arthritis. And you nearly ran him over while you were on the phone discussing how much you care about serving his community. The color drained from Vanessa's face. Mr. Williams gave a witness statement to Officer Davis. He said he thought he was going to die. He said he hasn't felt safe crossing that intersection since. But you were busy with your important call, so I guess his safety didn't matter. Your Honor, I didn't know. You didn't know because you didn't care to know. You were driving 65 miles per hour through a neighborhood with schools, senior centers, and families. You were on your phone instead of paying attention to the road. You nearly killed someone and then threatened the officer who stopped you from potentially killing someone else. Vanessa's attorney stepped in quickly. Your Honor, my client is deeply remorseful. Is she? Judge Caprio looked directly at Vanessa. Mrs. Montgomery, are you remorseful? Or are you just upset that your charitable work didn't shield you from consequences? Vanessa's jaw tightened. I think I'm being unfairly targeted because of my success and visibility. Less prominent people probably get warnings for this kind of thing all the time. Less prominent people don't threaten to withhold million-dollar donations when they get caught breaking the law. I didn't threaten. I stated a fact. The Montgomery Foundation decides where to allocate resources based on how we're treated. That's just good business. Judge Caprio stood up from his bench, something he rarely did. Mrs. Montgomery, let me tell you what I see. I see someone who's done genuinely good work in this community. Your foundation has helped a lot of people. But I also see someone who believes that good work purchases immunity from the law. Someone who thinks charitable donations are a currency that buys special treatment. And that, Mrs. Montgomery, is not how justice works. Your Honor, I simply think... Let me finish. You mentioned that your foundation won the Governor's Service Award. I'm familiar with that award. It's given to people who serve others selflessly, but there's nothing selfless about driving recklessly and then using your donations as leverage when you're held accountable. That's not charity. That's an investment in privilege. Vanessa's face flushed with anger. That's not fair. You have no idea how much time, money, and energy I put into helping this community. You're right. I don't know. But I do know that while you were on the phone discussing helping Mr. Williams' neighborhood, you nearly killed him. And that tells me something about your priorities. This is ridiculous. Do you know who you're talking to? The Montgomery Foundation supports half the nonprofits in this city. One phone call from me and... And what, Mrs. Montgomery? You'll withhold funding? You'll use your influence to punish me? Is that how your philanthropy works? Vanessa realized she'd gone too far. I didn't mean... Look, I'm just saying that I have responsibilities. Important responsibilities. And sometimes that means I have to make quick decisions about where to be and how fast to get there. Mrs. Montgomery, the standard fine for your violations is $2,850. But given your complete lack of remorse, your attempts to use charitable work as a shield, and your threats to a police officer and implicitly to this court, I'm imposing the maximum penalties. The courtroom went dead silent. Total fine, $7,500. Additionally, your driver's license is suspended for 90 days. You may apply for a restricted license for work purposes only, subject to approval. Vanessa's mouth fell open. $7,000? You can't be serious. I'm not finished. You will complete 100 hours of community service. However, you will not serve those hours through your own foundation or any organization where your name carries influence. You will serve them at Providence Community Action, working in their food pantry and homeless services, under the supervision of Director Linda Santos. I'm not going to. Furthermore, you will issue a public apology. Not a PR statement written by your team, a genuine personal apology posted on the Montgomery Foundation's official social media accounts. You will apologize to Officer Davis for threatening him, to Mr. Robert Williams for endangering his life, and to the community for believing your charitable work exempted you from basic laws. Vanessa was shaking with rage now. You want me to humiliate myself publicly? Do you know what that will do to my foundation's reputation? To our ability to raise funds? If your foundation's reputation depends on you being above the law, then perhaps it's not as strong as you think. Her attorney jumped in desperately. Your Honor, this is excessive. We'll be filing an immediate appeal. File whatever you want. Until that appeal is heard, my ruling stands. And Mrs. Montgomery, if you fail to complete any part of this sentence, you'll face contempt charges and possible jail time. Vanessa stepped forward, her voice rising to a shout. Do you know who pays your salary? My taxes fund this courthouse. The Montgomery Foundation donated $750,000 to the new courthouse expansion. You work in a building that exists because of my family's generosity. Mrs. Montgomery, I work for the people of Rhode Island and the principles of justice. Your donations don't employ me. They don't control me. And they certainly don't place you above the law. This is persecution. You're punishing me because I'm successful, because I'm a black woman who's made something of herself, because I refuse to be intimidated. Judge Caprio's voice softened slightly. Mrs. Montgomery, I'm not punishing you for your success or your race or your refusal to be intimidated. I'm holding you accountable for endangering lives and then trying to use your wealth and influence to avoid consequences. Those are choices you made, regardless of who you are. You'll regret this. The mayor will hear about this. The governor will hear about this. Every person my foundation has ever helped will hear how I was treated. Then they'll hear about how you nearly killed an elderly man and threatened a police officer, and they'll make their own judgments about what kind of philanthropist you really are. Judge Caprio sat back down. Court is adjourned. Mrs. Montgomery, you have 14 days to begin your community service and post your public apology. Your license suspension begins immediately. Bailiff, please collect her license. Vanessa stood there, stunned, as the bailiff approached. She fumbled in her expensive bag for her license, her hands shaking with rage. As she stormed toward the exit, Officer Davis stood near the door. She tried to push past him, but he spoke quietly. Mrs. Montgomery, Mr. Williams asked me to tell you he's praying for you. He said he hopes you learn to drive more carefully because he knows you're doing important work and the community needs people like you. He just wishes you'd be more careful. Vanessa stopped, turned, and for a brief moment, her anger faltered. Then she pushed through the doors without responding. But something unexpected happened over the next 3 months. On Vanessa's first day at Providence Community Action, she arrived in her designer clothes, clearly expecting to sign some papers and leave. Director Linda Santos, a no-nonsense 60-year-old who'd worked in social services for 30 years, handed her an apron. Food pantry. We're processing donations and serving clients. Let's go. I think there's been a misunderstanding. I'm Vanessa Montgomery. My foundation. I know who you are. And here, you're just another volunteer. We've got 200 families coming through today, and they need food, not speeches about your foundation. That first day shattered Vanessa's assumptions. She met Maria, a single mother of 3 working 2 minimum wage jobs who still couldn't afford groceries. She met Jerome, a veteran with PTSD who lived in his car and came to the pantry because it was the only meal he'd eat that day. She met elderly residents from the Smith Hill neighborhood, Mr. Williams' neighbors, who walked blocks to get food because they couldn't afford both groceries and medications. By week 3, Vanessa started arriving in jeans and sneakers. She learned clients' names, asked about their families, listened to their stories. And slowly, painfully, she began to understand the difference between writing checks and actually serving people. One morning, Mr. Robert Williams himself walked into the food pantry. Vanessa froze when she saw him. He walked with his cane, moving slowly toward the intake desk. Vanessa approached him, her voice shaking. Mr. Williams, I'm Vanessa Montgomery. He looked at her carefully. I know who you are. I saw you on the news. You're doing your community service here? Yes, sir. And I need to say something. I'm so sorry. I nearly hit you that day. I was careless and selfish, and I could have killed you. I'm so sorry. Mr. Williams studied her for a long moment. You know what scared me most that day? Not that I almost died, I'm old. I've made peace with mortality. What scared me was thinking you didn't even see me, that I was so invisible to you that you could almost kill me and not even notice." Tears streamed down Vanessa's face. "You're right. I didn't see you. I was so focused on my call, on my foundation, on how important I thought I was. I'm so sorry." "Well," he said gently, "I see you now. And it looks like you're finally seeing us too. That's good. Keep doing that." The public apology Vanessa posted wasn't written by PR professionals. It was raw, honest, and went viral for all the right reasons. She admitted her entitlement, her dangerous driving, her threats. She shared what she'd learned working at the food pantry, and she committed to changing, not just her driving, but her entire approach to philanthropy. 6 months after her court date, Vanessa completed her community service, but she kept volunteering. She'd restructured the Montgomery Foundation to include community voices in funding decisions. She'd started taking the bus 1 day a week to understand what her neighbors experienced. And she'd become personal friends with Linda Santos and Mr. Williams, both of whom had taught her more about service than she'd learned in a decade of writing checks. When Vanessa's license was reinstated, she traded in her Range Rover for a sensible used car. The vanity plate "Give Back" went in the trash, and she started driving 5 miles under the speed limit, phone in her purse, eyes on the road. She also wrote a letter to Judge Caprio. "Your Honor, I stood in your courtroom 6 months ago as the most entitled person you'd probably ever seen. I threatened you with my influence and my money. I believed my charitable work made me special. You showed me I was wrong, that being a philanthropist doesn't mean anything if you're willing to endanger the very people you claim to serve. Thank you for not letting my donations shield me from consequences. You forced me to actually meet the people I'd been helping from a distance, and that changed everything. If this story touched your heart, if you believe judges like Frank Caprio represent the best of our justice system, please support our new channel by subscribing and liking this video. Share it with someone who needs to hear that justice and compassion can coexist. Comment below with your city. Let's build a community that believes in fairness for all. 2 years later, the Montgomery Foundation had distributed $25 million to Providence organizations. But more importantly, Vanessa had transformed how they operated. Recipients weren't chosen from boardroom meetings anymore. They were chosen through community listening sessions. Vanessa attended every one, sitting in folding chairs in church basements, listening to what people actually needed. Mr. Williams became a regular speaker at Montgomery Foundation events, sharing his story about nearly being hit and about watching Vanessa transform. "Money can't buy class," he'd say, echoing Judge Caprio's words. "But humility can teach it." Judge Frank Caprio kept Vanessa's letter in his desk, pulling it out when he needed to remember that sometimes the people who seem most unreachable can still be reached, if you refuse to let their money, influence, or accomplishments shield them from accountability. The story became a case study in law schools and philanthropy programs. How privilege can corrupt even good intentions, and how justice, real justice, treats everyone equally, regardless of how much they've donated or how important they believe they are. Vanessa Montgomery walked into that courtroom as a philanthropist who used charity as currency. She walked out understanding that true service requires humility, that no amount of charitable work exempts you from basic human decency, and that the courtroom is the great equalizer, where your net worth means nothing and your character means everything. That's not just justice. That's transformation.